We are back, season 2, episode 1. So for today's episode, we are going to discuss how our 2024 has been for us.
Yes.
And we're also going to talk about kids back at school. It's fall, our first loves, and Vanessa and Ava's. Maybe, right?
Yes. So come join us. Listen in.
This is Liza and
This is Debbie.
And we are back on the mic, guys, with a brand new intro.
Yes.
And I hope everyone is enjoying our new YouTube channel and our video content.
Oh, I got so many comments on it.
Good ones or bad ones?
Good ones, obviously. I don't think anybody's going to tell me a bad one. But yeah, no, they were very surprised. I liked it. I mean, I actually watched it. I liked it. I think, it'll just get better and better.
It's just weird. You realize things about yourself because you obviously don't watch yourself. And I realize I talk a lot with my hands and I'm a very handsy person. And I don't know, to me, it's just like, ew, that's a little annoying.
Well, I was listening to, I don't know if this happens to you, but I was actually listening to myself and I'm like, shit, do I fucking sound like that?
There's nothing wrong with the way that you sound.
I'm like, what? So
funny story about Violet. I showed her the first pilot episode of our YouTube channel, and we were at our gymnastics class last week, and she just gets up and she blurts out to everybody, my mommy has a video on the internet. And I'm like, okay, everybody, it's a YouTube video. I do not have an OnlyFans. I'm like, the parents are looking at me and I'm like, it's on YouTube, okay? I don't have an OnlyFans.
Oh my God. Well, it's funny because as soon as you text us that was like the first thing that came into my mind was like, oh my God, they're probably thinking you're doing porn.
I better not have a doppelganger on Pornhub. By the way, we are not sponsored by Pornhub or OnlyFans.
I know.
Let's talk about Irene's setup when we first started recording.
Yes. I was like, what is going on? I did not expect this at all. It was like legit official, but like Irene being Irene, she's just so cool, calm, collected. She's like, okay, let's just bring this shit in. Me, on the other hand, I would have been like freaking out, like making sure everything was all set up. She's like, oh, chill.
I mean, she bought a whole ass table and chairs.
I know. We were like, what the heck?
She had these lights, and you weren't here, but when we were doing more video recording about Europe, she's like, your face is shiny. And Alina had to come out and do my makeup. And I'm like, really? And the place of the mic had to be at the same spot. I had to change 3 times, and I just could never make it as an actress.
It gives you an appreciation for sure.
Guys, thank you so much for supporting our videos and giving us feedback. We love the feedback. It could be good or bad. We love the feedback. We love your support, and watch out for more videos. We are going to be doing more of Debbie Can't Cook.
Can cook?
Yes. Yeah. And, hopefully a lot of Bay Area eating as well.
Oh, that is definitely up my alley for sure.
Yes. And did Peter watch the videos?
He got inspired.
He did. And what did he think?
So the videos is great. He basically gave a thumbs up on that. He actually got inspired by our podcast because he connected with his friend, Leo, who was doing a podcast years ago. And he was talking to Leo about how we're doing a podcast, and Leo and him, and it just inspired him. He's like, we should do our own podcast.
There you go.
And so he's looking to actually pursue that with his friend to create their own podcast because, obviously they have their interests, they have their followings. And so we inspired him to actually start looking into doing it himself.
Okay, go Peter.
Yes.
I see you.
Yes. So
we love the inspiration.
So I'm excited. I teased him. I said, "Don't compete with me," and he. But we're very supportive of each other. So I'm looking forward to him doing something that obviously interests him. So yeah. So we inspired potentially another podcast.
I love it. So Debbie, how is lifing you these days?
So it has been very interesting 2024. I came into 2024, as you guys know, I took some time off work. I started a new job. That has been, overall wonderful. The opportunity is great. I'm working at a company that obviously I love because I went back. So I'm a boomerang. So basically, left, came back, had this opportunity. It's great. Obviously with anything new, there's challenges, and these are just, I think, some growing pains of like getting into my groove, right? Of starting a new job and then kind of managing like the personal life aspect. So I find it interesting. It's great, but I find myself very busy.
Because you're technically still a newlywed.
Peter and I hit our 1 year anniversary early January. So yeah, technically, I guess. And, it's that's also been like an up and down deal because, again, I'm a little set in my ways. So.
And like you said, love can only take you so far, right?
Yes.
In a relationship and actually getting into the groove of actually being married.
Yeah.
Like, how long does that take? Is there a timeline on that? When do you just start getting in the groove of being in a marriage? I guess that's a whole new other episode, I feel like.
I know. We probably need to talk to people who've been married for a bit, because I'm getting into a groove. I mean, I still learn, obviously, things about him, although I feel like I know him pretty well. But definitely, like, for example, you asked how I was doing today, and I'm like, I'm kind of tired. And then I realized why. I went out yesterday. So I don't usually go out. So, I mean, it was an effort, but it was an effort that I wanted to make because my husband likes to go out. So I usually send him off on his way while I'm just chilling and relaxing at home. But this particular evening I said, you know what, I'll go out with you. So that's why I'm a little tired, is because I did go out last night. How about you?
2024. So I'm going to get all metaphorical with you here because I was thinking about this a lot during my 4-mile run this morning. Yes, I got up early and ran.
I have to say, I so admire people that can actually run.
I mean, that's my time to actually unload and do a lot of my thinking. And that's just my time.
Now, how long have you been a runner?
I started running when I was like a little after Ava. Ava's going to be 17, so about 15 years.
So have you always been a runner, or you just decided to pick it up?
No, I've never been athletic ever. I just did it more for my mental health, and my doctor recommended it. And now I'm here getting up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning running.
I remember when I first met you, and 4 miles right now is kind of like a beginner starter for you, I think, because I remember you were doing some crazy ass miles.
Yeah, so I've done two full marathons, which is like 26.2 miles, but who's counting?
Oh my God.
So going back to how my 2024 has been.
Yes.
Thinking back on our New Year episode, I wanted this whole year to be about my mental health and my personal growth and just working on myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to explain it metaphorically, like how I put my jigsaw puzzles together, because I really put a lot of thought into this morning. So going into the new year, I have this brand new puzzle that I'm really, really excited about. This puzzle is going to represent this new me that I want to work on. And I was like, I'm going to really put an effort into working on this puzzle. And this is how I'm going to put myself together.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. So you open the puzzle and your first question is, where do I start? First, I'll start separating the pieces. I'm going to put the edges into one pile and separate the rest by colors. The different piles represent different areas of my life, my career, the podcast, my kids, my love life, just everything. I always naturally start with the border because it's the easiest thing, and that's my foundation. And I'm trucking along. I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm doing this. I'm feeling really good about the puzzle. I'm going to complete it within a certain amount of time, and then I'll just go on and live my best life.
Sure.
No interruptions. Nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to focus on this.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a good groove going. You put the pieces together. It's starting to actually look like a puzzle. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my big ass 120-pound dog jumps on the table and knocks the puzzle down. And I lose some puzzle pieces, and I'm thinking, will I ever see it again? I was making such good progress, and I was almost done with the puzzle. Everything was almost put together, all the pieces I was working on. Now they're all over the floor, and it's just a big ass mess. Obviously, after all that, I'm in shock. I'm in disbelief. I am very discouraged and pretty pissed off at this and this experience represents something that happened in my life recently that was unexpected. The rug was literally pulled out from under me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, okay, I did not expect that to happen in my life right at that moment. I was very excited about it, very determined. I just wanted to get it done. So I'm like, okay, I got to get my shit together. I can either start all over or just pick up where I left off and just continue with it.
Yes.
I just picked up the broken pieces and continued on with my puzzle. And this is how my social media break started. As you know, I decided to take a social media / mental health break.
Okay.
And this is how social media was affecting my time putting my puzzle back together. You know, I'm working on my puzzle and ding, I get a social media notification. Then I stop and I look at my Instagram. I get distracted and go down this rabbit hole on the reels. And then your algorithm is reminding you how mentally unstable you are. And it's just very distracting to me.
Yes.
And so I paused all social media usage because I need to focus on putting my puzzle back together.
Okay, this is a really, really great visual analogy. Yes. I'm with you.
You know, first I gave myself like a month, and now I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. But there's just something liberating and refreshing about not being on social media. You know, I've had people reach out to me who I haven't spoken to in years, just checking in on me. I feel like I'm connecting more with people by not being on social media.
Break.
And I'm not gone for good. I'm not going to delete it. It's a good pause.
How long have you paused it, by the way?
How long I'll be off, I don't know. But right now I know that it feels good to me. It's been good for my mental health, and I'm just focusing on myself.
So tell me, where are you with your puzzle?
I want to say I'm about 80%.
Ah.
I don't know if I'm ever going to find that piece that my dog carried away with her ever again. I don't know if I'm ever going to find it again, but I've just come to the realization that, you know, it is what it is.
80% is pretty good. If you stopped at 80%, would you be okay with that? Or you kind of like, no? Because like you said, right? Like you don't know what pieces are missing.
Yeah.
Right? So like to me, 80%, that's pretty awesome.
I feel like my life is an infinite amount of puzzle pieces. It's always going to be a work in progress. There's always going to be pieces to put together.
Yeah.
But where I'm at right now, I'm feeling very, very good.
So as you had mentioned, there's different space, like within that puzzle, there's different sections that you called out. Do you feel like any of those sections have been actually full, like 100%?
Maybe some. Mm-hmm. Maybe some. I think, you know, I've learned about like with my work. Like my work has been fine. You know, it's very stressful because, you know, I do work at a school. So we just started school, so that was very stressful. I feel like not all of it is 100%. It's not where I want it to be. But, you know, like when it comes to like co-parenting, I think that's always something that me and David will always have to figure out because it's still kind of like it's been a couple years. You know, the relationship that I have with my kids is always a work in progress because they're still, you know, reeling from.
Well, it's ever changing. It's ever changing, right? So, but it sounds like you've built a really good like foundation where you can pause when you need to, and then continue to move on. Like you said, it's probably never going to be 100%. But it sounds like you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I'll take the
80. Yeah, you're in a good spot.
So speaking of kids, the kids are back at school.
I know. Vanessa, my daughter, is now a senior.
So is Alina, which is Irene's daughter.
I know. So it's wild because once they get through this year, they've now moved into another stage of life. So it's wild.
How do you even process that?
I was sad. I'm still sad. And Vanessa said, "Mom, stop. Yeah, don't be sad." And I'm like, "No, I'm sad. I am sad that she's at this stage. I'm excited for her, but I'm sad for myself because there's you have to like, I have to consciously realize or like let her go. Let her experience her experiences, right? And just be supportive and guide her.
That's hard because that's your only baby.
It is.
Your child. You
I know.
Like I still have another one that I'll have at home for a while.
But so for me, this is actually, I actually told her I'm sad. And she's like, "Mommy, don't be sad." She's like, "Mama, don't be sad. It's don't. And then I'm like, And then she, you know, obviously her life has changed. She has like a new boyfriend, her first boyfriend. So I'm like, I'm still adjusting to knowing that, you know, I know how it is. So, you know, that's a different stage too.
So Ava's a junior this year, so I'll have another year, and Violet's going to be starting kindergarten.
That's wild.
So yeah, going back to Vanessa and her boyfriend, Ava just recently started dating and has a boyfriend as well.
Yeah.
In our text thread, Irene brought up the subject of our first loves. Do you think that's Vanessa's first love?
I think it is. I don't know because, Vanessa, she's usually good about telling me stuff. I do think this is for her to actually bring him around and introduce him to our family, I definitely feel like he's important to her. So I think Vanessa in general is a pretty selective person who she brings around or who she spends time with. So obviously he's important. I know he's important to her.
Having girls, the time is going to come. When Ava introduced us to her boyfriend, my first thought was, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's happening.
Well, it doesn't trigger, like for me, it triggers a lot because I know now that it's like a no going back zone. They've crossed a threshold where they're liking somebody, but also I think with us, I think we're very aware, like that, it's no longer like.
And what comes with first loves are first heartbreaks.
Yes.
And that was my immediate thought was, how am I going to deal with my daughter getting her heart broken? Because, they're young.
Okay, first of all, my first thought wasn't the heartbreak. My first thought was
my first thought.
No, my first thought was like, oh my God, I gotta like really talk to her because now she has she can get pregnant. Like that just
We had that conversation because it's like.
That was my first thought.
They're teenagers and teenagers are horny. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Nope.
Their hormones are raging and
Yes.
that's the reality of it. It's going to happen.
Yes.
So that was my second thought. My first thought was, how am I going to deal with the heartbreak?
Yes, and I think I think prior to her getting to her first love, I think for me, I try to prep her and saying like, look, your first love may not be your only love, right? So there is going to be that moment where you're going to, like, if it doesn't work, you're going to move on. And so knowing that she's going to have to deal with heartbreak, and it's just, yeah.
Then you have to start talking to them about having boundaries, how to establish having boundaries with your partner. And then as parents, we need to start having boundaries for our dating teenagers. Like they can't be alone in a room together with the door closed.
Yes.
And it's hard because I'm a single mom, and it's hard because Ava's boyfriend is always at our house or my house, and I'm the only one that's monitoring them.
Well, and here's the tough part. You know how it is. So they just want to be together, right? So you're, well, and I'm like, girl, you're making my eyes hurt. You need to sit. You both need to sit up because, like, they're sitting down, they're cuddling, and I'm like, oh, like, but in a way, I kind of understand. Like, they care about each other. When I was growing up, if I even so heard my parents, we would just be like sitting up. We wouldn't be touching. For her and her boyfriend, they're like
so comfortable.
Yes.
So Ava and her boyfriend aren't affectionate. Maybe it's because they aren't affectionate when they're around me.
No, they're very Vanessa and her boyfriend are very cuddly. I make Peter the bad guy. Yeah. I'm like, after like a little bit, I'm like, okay, you need to go over there, and I am not ready to, because you cannot unsee what you see, right? So I purposely, every time I walk, make sure that it's loud.
You know what? That's a great thing about having a toddler. You could just send them in there. Violet is like my secret weapon.
Violet, go in there, or sit with them or hang out with them, So she's my weapon.
Oh, good. Well, mine is, babe, go check on them.
Speaking of first loves, do you remember your first love, Debbie?
I don't know. I like to bury it. Really? I like to move on. Like me, I'm different. I'm like, for me, I don't really feel like life really like mattered until I had Vanessa. Like to me, like that was like everything before that was like, it just didn't matter. It's like not important. But do you remember your first love?
Yeah, I remember my first love.
So I was in high school. I was a freshman. So that makes me like 14 or 15 at the time. We went to the same high school, and he had this bike with these pegs in the back. So I would stand on the back and we would ride all around San Jose on his bike. We were together for almost a year, which is a long time for a high school couple.
Wow, that's a long time.
And the funny thing is, we're still friends. We know the same people. He's actually really good friends with my cousin.
So you still see your first...
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's funny because when we're at the same family function, my family will make a comment saying like, "Oh, your first love is here," and we joke about it.
So why'd you guys break up? Do you even remember that?
I mean, life just happened.
So like when you see him now, is it awkward?
No, not at all. We're in our 40s now. Anything that happened in high school, like you said, it happened. For me, it was one of those things that I'll never forget. Just the feeling of it. We would be on the phone all night. We would fall asleep on the phone. I was so excited to see him, like the butterflies in your stomach. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel like the first feeling of love, like puppy love, you can never have that again. Of course, you'll love somebody unconditionally. You'll have that love and you'll have the butterflies. But I mean, with this, it was different. That's why I think I'll always remember it.
Well, I'll tell you. It just happened recently, probably about 2 weeks ago. I've always been on Vanessa to be productive. And so one of the things that we needed to do was clean out our garage. So there was a couple of things in the garage that like, it was old pictures, old stuff that I had. Like I used to scrapbook and old pictures and things like that. So I said, you know what? They don't belong in the garage. We need to put them like together, organize it, put it away. Right. And throw these, like the albums were like, do you remember the old albums where you would pick pictures and then it would just be like that plastic? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what I had. So she's like, okay, fine. So she went through it and it was my old stuff, like from high school. She's like, Mom, who did you go to this dance with? Who is this guy? And Mom, who is this guy? And Mom, like, oh my God, this is you? What, like, so it was, I think it was very fun for her to kind of see this other side of her mom.
But you actually had a life before her? Like,
well, and
life?
it was like at her age, right? Like she's looking at pictures, like she's in high school and these are pictures of me in high school. And so she was just wild that she was just like, oh my God, I can't believe, this, like seeing me in a different perspective. And so it was a lot of fun to go down a memory lane of certain things. 'Cause like I said, you forget. Like I forget, like I, had this other life. But yeah, I mean, it was a good moment. And I think for me, I couldn't actually bring to throw any of it away. But it's not like I don't know, like, what do you do with that stuff?
I mean, back then we just had pictures. We didn't have the internet. That's why it's so hard for us to throw things like that away because you can never find these pictures again. And if you throw it away, that's it.
She even showed me a picture of this one, like a couple of people. And she's like, who are these people? I'm like, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember.
So
I'm like, but Donna will vouch. I'm horrible. I go, I don't remember. And then she's just like, but you have them in your album. And like, obviously at that moment, they were somewhat important to you because you put them up there. I'm like, I don't know. But here's the thing. I can't bring to throw any of that away. So right now we're trying to organize it and put it in, in a box, like a photo box and put that away. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I think for me, I think our kids in this generation are probably in a better space when it comes to that. 'Cause like you said, you have the internet, so you can kind of keep it on there. Yeah. I told her, enjoy your first love.
Same with Ava. I mean, we'll see how it works out.
I know, but do you give her advice of like, what advice did you get? Like my advice to Vanessa about her obviously being in a relationship is number one thing, you guys got to make each other better. If you guys don't make each other better, then why are you guys together?
Yeah, I mean,
so that's what I tell her. I said, remember that.
I just told Ava that you need to be in a team. It's not just all about you and not all about just him. You need to work together as a team. I mean, there's no I in team. She's very much like me, though. She's like, this is me. I only care about me, just a little selfish. And I think for her to have that mindset of quote unquote, it takes a little getting used to.
Can you tell if she likes him?
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure.
You can tell.
When they're together, you can totally tell.
And and you know your daughter, right?
Yeah. You can tell.
Wow.
It just made me think about like my first one.
So this concludes our first episode of season 2. I'm very excited for this season. A lot to look forward to.
Well, welcome back.
I just want to pause and thank everyone who has supported us and is helping us grow this podcast. And I have a really, really good feeling about season 2. Do you, Debbie?
I do.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Our handles will be in our show's notes. And we have a very exciting event coming up with a cartoonist and environmental justice lawyer, Eddie On, this upcoming Sunday, September 8th at 1 o'clock at Books Inc. in Campbell in the Prune Yard.
Yes, come join us. Come say hi. Don't be shy.
Hope to see you guys there. And thanks again for listening.